U.S. help! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? U.S. help! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? U.S. help! When do we want it? Now! And if we don't get it, shut it down!
Make some noise if you really want to stand with the Venezuelan people. We are really standing with the people of Venezuela who have chosen that they want this path. They have chosen that they don't want U.S. occupation. They don't want to become the next satellite for the United States. They don't want bases in their country. They don't want our capitalist system to exploit them. So if you really stand with Venezuela, I want to hear you say, up, up, up with the people. Up, up, up with the people. Down, down, down with Trump. Down, down, down with Trump. Then up with the people. Up, up, up with the people. Down, down, down with the coup. Down, down, down with the coup. No more sanctions, no more lies. Venezuela unified.
Necesitamos unirnos, necesitamos quitar a este régimen corrupto en Washington. Los republicanos, los demócratas son corruptos y están atacando al mundo entero. Ya es tiempo de un cambio. Entonces, por eso estamos con Venezuela. Hands off. Hands off. Hands off.
Working class and democratically minded people against fascism, against imperialism, against monopoly capitalism. Our problems are in the streets of Los Angeles, in the cities of the United States, and our number one enemy is in the White House, in the government of this country.
No more sanctions, no more lies. No more sanctions, no more lies. No more sanctions, no more lies. Venezuela unified. No more sanctions, no more lies. Venezuela unified. No more sanctions, no more lies.
U.S. sanctions have destroyed Venezuela's economy, causing severe lack of food and medicine. Yet somehow we're supposed to believe that this coup attempt is for human rights. We're supposed to believe that, to save people, to give them food and medicine, just like the U.S. claimed it was invading Iraq to liberate Iraqis. Just like they said they were bombing Libya to the Stone Age to liberate them. All of a sudden, we're supposed to believe this time it's different, right? That Donald Trump, a racist, sexist, xenophobic, bigot extraordinaire, alongside of his gaggle of war criminals, just want to save people, guys. They just want to help Venezuela. Millions of lives are at stake, and we must do everything in our power to resist the bloodthirsty Trump regime, to be unified with our brothers and sisters in Venezuela and in the U.S. to say no sanctions, no coup, no war, regime change here, not Venezuela. Regime change here. The people of Venezuela see you, they hear you. We stand with them just as they stand with us. Viva Venezuela! Viva la revolución!
Screw you, U.S. imperialists. We're gonna fight. We're not afraid of you. You have your bombs, but we have our hearts. We have our souls. And let's see. And here in Los Angeles, in MacArthur Park area, there is for many migrants that live all over here who came from countries that have been ravaged by U.S. imperialism. People had to leave their homes, their loved ones, because of U.S. aggression. They know what it's like to be a victim of U.S. imperialism. They know what the people in Venezuela is going through right now and what the future through the imperialist lens holds in store for them. But they also know that there is only two ways: surrender or fight. And Venezuela and its president Maduro say, we choose to fight.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
opposition of any invasion by the United States under the guise of humanitarian aid to come and try to steal the resources of Venezuela. Venezuela's people have fought long and hard to be able to do with their resources what they want to do. That's what we're here to do today, to let Maduro and the people of Venezuela know that we got their backs, that we support them, that the working class people in the United States, black and brown, LGBTQ, women, we're all behind them. We're struggling for the same things that they have fought long and hard for.
We're fired up against taking no more. We need money for schools, not for war. We're fired up. President Maduro, we got your back. Stop the U.S. war attack. Venezuelan people, we got your back.
Stop the U.S. war attack!
Venezuelan people, we got your back. Stop the U.S. war.
We're not alone here today in these streets because there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people around the world making some noise for Venezuela.
Military force is on the table for Venezuela, we can say with certainty that exerting violence against the democratic will of the people of that country will do nothing but serve the interests of those in power in the United States. Nothing but serve the interests of those who will profit from the oil reserves in Venezuela. In 2018 alone, U.S. sanctions have cost the Venezuelan people $23 billion, a crisis that's manufactured to effect regime change in that country. Venezuela has already welcomed and repeatedly asked for assistance from neutral and friendly governments. Such help should be offered in good faith and with no strings attached. As people dedicated to peace and justice, we must reject the United States meddling once again in the democratic decisions of another country in Latin America. We call for the end of all U.S. sanctions and peace with Venezuela.
One more try. I'm gonna say up with the people. You're gonna stay down with the group. Up with the people. Up with the people.
We're here because we support the people of Venezuela and we support Maduro. The one thing that these capitalists are afraid of or scared of is socialism. The one thing that can actually right this wrong is socialism.
Up with the people. Up with the people. Down with the crew. Up with the people. We already know what the consequences of invasion, war, and occupation means. We've seen it in Honduras under Obama, this bipartisan imperialism. The biggest challenge that we have today is to build a united struggle against capitalism, against colonialism, against U.S. imperialism. And so we unite with this conference, we unite with this march, we unite with the call, U.S. hands off Venezuela, imperialism out of Venezuela.
They hate Venezuela like they hated Iraq, like they hate Iran, because the oil revenues go to the benefit of the people of those countries. And they think that the oil money should come here into their pockets. So they want to do to Venezuela what they did to Iraq, what they did to Libya, what they did to Syria. They want to destroy it. And when people flee terror in Central America, in Honduras and Guatemala, and try to seek refuge here, the Trump regime wants to keep them back, keep them out. But we're supposed to believe that the Trump regime cares about the people of Venezuela. They want to destroy Venezuela. They want the kind of regime in Venezuela, the kind of death squad regime that they put up, the U.S. government has backed in so many other Central and South American countries. The people of Venezuela are fighting the same enemy we're fighting. They are our friends, they're allies, our comrades. We have to stand with them, because if they are defeated, it will be a blow to working class and oppressed people everywhere. Long live the Bolivarian Revolution! Long live President Maduro! No war for oil profits! Hands off Venezuela!
This is the U.S. empire that is inherently in crisis because of its insatiable greed of the ruling elite, because of it feeds off of the natural resources of oppressed people, because it uses war against other people to make sure that they can again conquer and steal the lands of indigenous people. So make no mistake, this U.S.-backed coup is not about protecting democracy. It is about protecting economic oil interests of U.S. empire.
And whether or not we here in the United States win our freedom depends on the victories of the peoples of movements in Venezuela and around the world, from the continents of Africa to Asia to Haiti to the Caribbean to Palestine. We will not win if they don't win.
What is war, and how do we respect the sovereignty of states and matters of justice? If the United States positions itself behind the idea of American exceptionalism, what is our moral compass, and how do we defend and uphold justice around the world? When we see tyranny, do we bomb it? Do we choke it through tools of global capital like sanctions? When we identify tyranny and tyrants, how do we oppose them, and what tools do we employ? Before the first boot hits the ground or the soil of one of the U.S.'s adversaries, more sophisticated and easier to obfuscate methods are employed. As far as Washington, D.C. is concerned, Venezuela is a threat, its leader, a tyrant. How do we oppose this threat? Threats of assassination of its leaders is one way, freezing and confiscating its international held assets is another. We can endorse, carry out, and provide assistance to its internal opposition. Destabilize the economy through sanctions and hoarding of necessary foods and medicines, attack critical infrastructures like electricity, undermine the democracy and autonomy of the state by supporting its opposition. We can endorse, carry out, or provide assistance in assassinations. It is generally only after such measures fail that we would have need to call upon the more obvious and brutal measures of war. But to do that, you generally need the consent of Congress, technically. And on that end, we would hope that Congress is following the will of its constituents, so the corporate media must do its part to galvanize public support for the latest imperial adventure. Pundits and experts present the CIA State Department point of view, bad faith biased reporting, or fake news. The carrying out of false flag operations. Bipartisan support from its political leaders. Democrats and Republicans galvanize around the talking points. The Pentagon point of view. When our leaders don't represent us, when our media lies to us, the first and last measure is to take to the streets. Mass protests of Middle Eastern wars constrain the United States from committing even worse war crimes and possibly prevented a war with Iran. If we are to stop an invasion of Venezuela and reverse course on U.S. intervention in South America, our voices and bodies must take to the streets. It is here at home where we have a crisis of democracy in need of humanitarian relief, so we have to be clear, hands off Venezuela.